Hi everybody, this is David Collett from Guitar Salon International. I'm here today at the request of our good friends from D'Addario who have asked us to put together a quick video to show you how to properly change the strings on your nylon string guitar, aka classical and flamenco guitar. So we're going to do that real quick today. I found a guitar here that desperately needs a string change. It's got a broken string, the bass strings are all brown, and yeah, this one definitely needs a string change. So let's get to it. And so for today's video, what I want to do is I want to talk about what most of you are going to encounter, and that is a traditional 6-hole tie block. That means there's 1 hole per string. There are a few varieties and options out there, including guitars that have 12-hole tie blocks. That's 2 holes per string. That's a whole other thing. I'm not going to be talking about this today because you'll rarely encounter a guitar like this, but they are out there. A further extreme, this is an 18-hole tie block. This is 3 holes per string, and again, I'm not going to be talking about how to string up one of these. And lastly, I'm not going to be talking about how to use systems with beads, for example, where you don't have to do the wrapping around the tie block. I'm going to be showing you how to do a traditional 6-string wrap around on the tie block. And before we get started, just a couple of quick definitions so that we all know what we're talking about here. So this is the bridge, and these are the wings of the bridge. This is the saddle, which is usually made of bone or plastic, and that sits in the saddle slot where the strings rest from. And this area here, which is the important part for changing strings, is what we call the tie block. And it's usually capped with a veneer like this. And of course, that is where the holes go through, where you're going to be wrapping your strings. Another question that comes up pretty often is, how often should you change your strings? And the answer to that is, it depends. It depends on how often you're playing your guitar. Obviously, the more you play the guitar, the quicker the strings are going to deteriorate. But also different players have different, they sweat a little bit on their fingertips, other players have drier fingertips, and so the strings will wear at different rates. But really the thing to take note of is, are the strings getting dull, especially the bass strings, and are they starting to oxidize, which means they start turning brown, which is kind of nasty. So once your strings are starting to fail you and it's becoming clear that they need to be changed, that's when you change them. And it depends on player to player. Now, some of the basic tools you're going to need in order to get this done, obviously you're going to need a set of replacement strings, and for this I've chosen a set of D'Addario strings. Next, it's helpful when loosening the strings, the old strings, and tightening up the new ones. You can do it manually if you've got the time and the energy, but you also might want to pick up, there are some clever little tools like this. This is a Pro Winder from D'Addario, or if you're one of us GSI guys here and you're doing this all day long, you know, you can go a little more high tech. But basically, it's always helpful to have some kind of a winder to help you with the strings, getting them on and off. Another thing to be careful about while you're changing the strings on your guitar is that this area, when you're tightening the strings or removing them, a lot of times they can come loose and whiplash the back. We call them string dings. And so some people like to take a guard like this to protect the top so that when they're changing it, if something does go wrong, you've got some protection. So I'm going to do this video without one of these, but this is something that some players may want to do. Also, you can see how nasty this looks with all these strings hanging loose. So a lot of times you want to clip them off. I would definitely use something like a pair of nail clippers like this, or like with the string winder from D'Addario, it comes with a little clipper as well, which you can use to clip it. And you definitely don't want to use scissors because a lot of times you can accidentally, while clipping the strings, cut or damage the headstock. So it's always better to have, and safer to have, something smaller like this where you can't really do much damage. So let's get these strings off. First you loosen them, and I'll take all the bass strings off first. And some people like to change one string at a time so that it doesn't stress the top out too much and the guitar sounds really good once you've got it back again. So now I go down here, and we're just going to kind of untangle these, being very careful because we don't want to ding the top. You've just got to kind of undo the winding. And then pull the string through like this. Just make sure that it doesn't ding. I usually hold the tip of it while I'm pulling it out like this to help it get through without damaging the top. And same with this one. And again, holding the end of the string all the way till it leaves the tie block area. And our last one here, holding the tip of the string all the way until it reaches, so that you don't do any damage to the top there. Now that they're freed up from the bridge area, from the tie block, we can actually remove them much easier down here. Another thing that a lot of people do that's maybe even a little quicker is you can just cut the string. Say if we cut it here, that way you've got less string to work with. I always like to have the holes in the rollers pointing up and down so that I have easier access to pushing the string out. There we go. And here we go, here's the last of the bass strings. Here we go. Got that one out now too. So let me open this. Get the strings out. So here we go. Like I said, we're starting with the bass strings, and most string companies will identify obviously what the string is. D'Addario here have said 6th, A, or 4th and D. So I always like to start with the D string. So I always start down at this end here. And again, I start on the saddle side of the tie block and I push it through. Comes through, and you want to make sure that it doesn't scratch the top. So you can either use that guard that I was showing you earlier or your finger. And here's the trick. We take the string, we loop it under the string, and then we loop it under again from this position, and it needs to be lying on this surface here, which is the surface facing that way. And we just pull it until it tightens. And because the bass strings are wound, they catch very safely. And there you go. I've seen people that do this a little differently than me, but this is the way I do it, and I've been doing it since I started playing guitar, pretty much. I like to start by putting the string in through the top, like this. Get it through, and then pull it underneath here, like this. And I always leave my thumb under here, holding on to it, because what I want to do is I want to be able to wrap the string back around again on the outside through the little loop that I've created with my thumb, like this. And that creates kind of a knot. It ties a knot in it. And you can pull that nice and tight. And that's a really good grip. And now I'll cheat and take my shortcut and get this thing I always do it a little bit sharp, maybe a half step sharp, because the string is going to stretch and it's going to go back down. Anyway, our D string is now on. And then we'll repeat this operation for the A string. I'm going to go a little faster this time. There we go, a secure tie there. Same as before. In through the top, underneath, and then back through my little thumb, the little area that I've given it for the thumb. And we've got another secure. Tighten it up. Little sharp, like I said. Finally, our E string for the basses. It's the same exact thing that I've done, just this will be the thickest string, so it'll be a little tougher to pull on this part because the string is so much thicker, but you can get it done. There we go. So, and then up at the headstock, same thing again. We put the string in through the top, pull it through, underneath, and I'm going to hold a little gap open on the other side with my thumb, push it through. And you want to make sure none of these strings get tangled up in with the other string. So put that one aside. Pull it nice and tight. There we go. Tighten it up. And the basses are done. And I say it's always nice to tidy these up. We don't like these loose strings hanging, so I come in with my clipper. Again, you can use the Pro Winder clipper. Don't use scissors, or you can use something like these fingernail clippers, and just give it a nice little haircut. It's not only for presentation, but you don't want these strings getting caught up in the winding of the other strings, and that can sometimes happen, and then you've really got a big mess. And so I always clip them around that close there. So now we're going to do the trebles. The trebles are pretty much the same as the basses with a couple of exceptions. So let's get them off first. And for these, I do normally like to cut them. I loosen them a little bit. You want to always make sure that they're loose, even if you cut them, because if they're taut at their natural tightness, and you cut them, they could whiplash and again damage the guitar. So you always want to make sure they're loose, even if you're going to cut them. So let's cut these just for convenience. And you see that when I do it this way, they don't go flying off in different directions. And so what I usually do here is I just pull this up here. You can pull this up and then you just pull it right through this side like this. And then the whole thing comes out this way. Pull it through this way, pulls right out. Very clean, very quick and easy. Again here. And then again, you just proceed to pull them out. This one is a little bit higgly-piggly, but we'll get it done. The way I'm doing it here, it'll be a lot easier to remove them. Sometimes it's a little bit of a labyrinth to find your way around however the previous person strung the guitar. So a quick word about the trebles. Trebles are slippery. So especially carbons. Nylons are slippery and carbons are even slipperier. So we're gonna have to do a couple of extra steps that we didn't have to do with the basses, and so I'll point those out in a second. We'll get to that in a second. Now I'm starting with the third string, the G string, so I'd like to work my way out while I have space, because if you start with the E string and then you work your way in, you're gonna get crammed in here. So I always like to start where I have space in that direction. So what we do differently that we don't really need to do with the basses is we want to secure the end of the string so that it doesn't pull through, because it is a slippery string. Whereas these bass strings have this winding on this metal winding which can catch on itself and kind of hold very securely. These don't have that. Some people like to use a lighter to burn kind of a bulb into the end of the string. And when it cools, you'll see it'll leave sort of a bulb, and some strings actually come with this already installed, so you don't have to do it. For those of you who don't want to use a lighter, and this is what I tend to do, this is just for safety, so that you don't want the string coming loose and whiplashing the top. I usually just tie a knot, like this. And what I do to tie the knot is I bring it up to the tie block, get it nice and close to the end. And of course, even if you have a little extra here, you can always clip it off afterwards. But anyway, that's how I do it. But you just want to make sure that there's something there to protect the string from being able to pull out and whiplash against the top. Once you've got the tip secured, then you can tie it just like you tied these. You just bring it around, go underneath, pull it around, and now, there you go, it will hold. Some strings, again, you may even want to tie a knot at this end. And I'll do it just to show you, although I think these strings would be fine without it. But just to be safe, it's always kind of a good idea maybe to tie a knot even at this end, like so. Pull it up here to get it to, so we've got kind of a knot there, if you can see that. And then you proceed the same with the bass strings. You go under, and I've got, again, some saved with my thumb here, which is where I'm gonna push it through. Pushing it through, and voila, the string holds. Now we're gonna do the same thing with the B string. Goes through, tie a knot. So again, under, and then we want to have this on the side here, and we just tighten it up nice and quickly and easily. And there's no chance the string is going to come whipping out. And then again, we go back to the headstock here, and I'm going to go ahead and do my knot, because I like the knot. Okay, we've got a knot here, and I'll tighten it up here. And then, once again, underneath, pull it through, put it through here so that it locks in place. Like that. Last string comes through, tie the knot, under here. Again, that's secure. Lastly, the headstock, getting it in the roller, in the tuning machine roller, pulling it through, tying a knot, again, pulling it through underneath, and then through here to get a good grip, and then pull it tight. Anyway, once you get it all up, then you can actually get the guitar tuned up. And then again, some of these you're going to want to clip, like we did with the bass strings. Looks like I don't have a whole lot of G string, but I will cut and be careful when you're doing this that you don't actually cut the part of the string that's at tension. That's happened before. Clip that. And those two look fine, so they don't need it. So basically, that's how you restring your guitar. Easy as that. So hope this video was helpful. You can see with the assistance of a couple of little tools, you can do this quickly and easily. And obviously you want to spend as much time playing your guitar as possible, but unfortunately changing your strings is probably the thing you're going to be doing the second most often with the guitar. So anyway, as long as you can make it easy and quick and relatively painless, we hope this video helped.